Welcome to Break the Silence, Build the Future, a podcast dedicated to amplifying the voices of survivors and advocates while shedding light on the pervasive issue of gender based violence. Join us on a journey where survivors find strength in sharing their stories and experts offer profound insight into this critical societal issue. This is the second last episode of season 1 of Break the Silence, Build the Future. Season 2 of Break the Silence, Build the Future will start last Wednesday of September. As I explained in the last episode of this podcast, episode 18, we are going through the preliminary hearing right now. The criminal justice system in Ontario or in Canada, there are so many layers of these processes. Okay, so that's and it's hard to really grasp it and understand it until you're in it. And when you're in it, it's challenging to understand and comprehend. What you think should happen and what happens are totally different. And for 99% of the time, you as the victim, you are in the dark. You don't know what's going to happen. But it's something about that, about the weight, that really making me very anxious and uneasy for two reasons. Number one, it's just waiting in general. I don't know about you, but I don't do very well with waiting. I would imagine all the worst thing that could happen. Everything that could go wrong. What are the terrible things that you're going to tell me, but you don't want to tell me now over the phone? You want to tell me in person. That just makes me so, I don't know about you, but that makes me so anxious. And I would imagine, depending on who's telling me, the worst case scenario of what is it that I am going to hear? What is it that I'm going to see? What is it that I'm going to experience? That's what so the weight itself is really challenging because I'm trying to predict what the outcome would be. How would she phrase it? I have no way to know, to predict, but still my mind continues to drift to that what ifs. I'm not really even sure what to expect. Would the judge even make a decision? Is it possible that they reschedule again? So it's this suspense that we are held somewhere in the middle of knowing and not knowing, trying to think about what she might say. That is really quite challenging for me and for the rest of my family. The second thing is there is something about this way, there is something about this process that makes you so helpless on a human level. This is something that affected me in a way that I cannot put words. This affected me in a way that I cannot tell you the depth of the pain. I can't because I don't have words for it. Maybe someday down the road, I might have a language for it to explain it to you, to tell you what is this like. My family and I have experienced this tremendous loss, a loss that was so predictable and so preventable, but it happened all the same. So how do we cope with this idea of waiting for justice, even if you can call it that? The wait for justice, trying to anticipate what's going to happen. That makes me so helpless. So those are the two things. The weight of the unknown, trying to predict, trying to guess, trying to appreciate, trying to anticipate, right? The weight itself and the feeling that comes with that weight. So the number one is the weight itself, time it takes. My daughter has been gone for over a year, and we are just trying to get through the preliminary hearing. Never mind the pre-trial and the trial and jury selection and everything that comes with it. So the waiting and thinking that would she really issue a ruling that day? Would she come back with questions and say that I have these questions for the defense and the Crown? how does this even work? Or does she just show up, sit there, share her findings and her reasons, and boom, it's done. This is what I decided the charge should be, and these are my reasons of doing so. It's done. Is that what's going to happen? Or there will be a question and answer? Is it just that straightforward where the judge would come in, share the charge, and share her reasons and be done with it? Is that how it works? I don't know. So there you have it. So this weight that it kind of like running through my mind all this time, thinking about this and thinking about that. There's nothing to be done for it. You can wait for all you want. You can think about it. You can anticipate. You can try to predict what would happen. And the fact that you are unable to do anything, to say anything, to contribute anything to this process, that makes me so helpless. So I'm going to leave this episode here today. And I'm going to have season 2 of Break the Silence, Build the Future, starting the last Wednesday of September. The format might be a little bit different because I will have a lot of guests coming into the show and contributing to their own experience. I will see you again, episode 20, which is last episode for season 1 of Break the Silence, Build the Future. Thank you for joining us. Please remember to like, follow, subscribe, and share. And join us next week for another episode of the podcast, Break the Silence and Build the Future.